We are kicking off today with Raw as Jacob Fatu proved pivotal in Bron Breakker winning the Intercontinental title from Jey Uso, but a stare down between Bron and Fatu has sparked a ton of interest online. According to WrestleVotes, during a Q&A session on their Backstage Pass, the backstage reaction to this crowd response was significantly larger than expected. The moment between the two caused much more excitement than WWE officials had expected, signaling strong fan interest and a potential feud when the time is right. We'll have to wait and see when WWE will end up booking a feud between Bron Breakker and Jacob Fatu, as this is a storyline fans are eager to see after just one face-off. Do you want to see Breakker and Fatu square off one day? Could this be a feud worthy of a WrestleMania showdown? Share your thoughts down in the comments section. Throughout her WWE career, Rhea Ripley has proven that she can quite literally manhandle her male counterparts, with Kevin Owens, Matt Riddle, and others falling victim to her wrath. Since SummerSlam, Ripley has been eager to get her hands on Dominik Mysterio, and while she was on the winning end of a mixed tag in Berlin, their feud may not be finished just yet. According to WrestleVotes, during a live Q&A with Bill Apter on Backstage Pass, there have been internal discussions about an intergender match pitting Ripley against her former Dom Down. There is a real desire among those in creative to make the match happen, despite WWE typically refraining from men's versus women's matches compared to other promotions. Do you want to see Rhea Ripley and Dominik Mysterio square off against each other in the future? Let us know your thoughts on the potential matchup down in the comments. Over to AEW Dynamite as Jon Moxley is on a mission of vengeance to change AEW from turning into whatever it is he doesn't want to be, a mission that has seen him capture the AEW World Championship. During an opening video package to start the show this week, Moxley said that someone has to be responsible when things get out of control and put himself forward as that person. Moxley reiterated that he hates what AEW has become and said the new paradigm is that you work for me now, in a warning he also shared during last week's show. Moxley advised people to step down while they can, and the caterpillar doesn't just get to become a butterfly because those wings aren't free, a caterpillar eats itself. The champ, who was looking a lot like Breaking Bad's Walter White, explained that the caterpillar cannibalizes itself in the name of change and suggested that the AEW roster do the same. Then Mox promised to destroy someone a little bit tonight on AEW Dynamite, but it's always for the greater good in a dramatic way to start the show with an ominous threat. Despite multiple stars on the roster lying in wait outside the arena to take on the BCC, Moxley was proven true to his word during the show's main event. During a match pitting Private Party and Daniel Garcia against the Elite, Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta got into the arena and beat down on the faces. Marina Shafir was able to provide a distraction, and Moxley himself then emerged, dragging Chuck Taylor into the ring. Taylor had tried to motivate Orange Cassidy to lead the charge against the BCC earlier in the show, and brought up Cassidy's win over Moxley at last year's Full Gear. This put Taylor in Moxley's crosshairs as the one true king, and his faction members destroyed the Kentucky Gentleman with the use of a steel chair. Castagnoli placed the chair around the neck of Taylor before delivering a stomp, similar to what he did to Bryan Danielson back at WrestleDream. This prompted Cassidy to rush to the ring to make the save, forcing the BCC to retreat, as OC looked devastated at his unconscious real-life friend, while other AEW stars arrived to check on Chuck Taylor. Do you like how AEW is booking Jon Moxley and his crew? What do you expect next? Share your thoughts and feedback in the comments section below. The match itself saw Private Party and Garcia get the win, with Zay pinning Matt Jackson, and afterwards he begged the Young Bucks for another shot at the World Tag Team titles. Private Party have been wanting a title rematch since they came up short at WrestleDream, but the Young Bucks refused to fulfill their request. Zay then raised the stakes, claiming that Private Party would split if they didn't win the match, and that was enough for the Bucks to agree to a title match. That will be next week's show that'll take place on Halloween, and will we see the end of the Bucks tag title reign or the end of Private Party? Time will tell. It was a few weeks back that Taz was attacked before AEW Dynamite's 5th anniversary, and Hook has been determined to find out who jumped his dad. On this week's show, Hook made his way to the ring as Christian Cage and his crew were around, and declared that the man who attacked Taz was in the ring. Hook went after the group, but a Wayne's World from Nick Wayne took him out, and ultimately the former FTW champion didn't get his hands on Cage. Instead, the Patriarchy leader nailed Hook with a kill switch and told Tyler, which is Hook's real name, that this isn't what you think it is. That was quite an ominous statement, and it ended with Hook in the ring after he didn't get what he wanted, and we'll have to see if Hook can get his hands on the man who attacked his father. Dynamite also saw the ROH World Championship change hands as Chris Jericho won the gold for the second time in a ladder war with Mark Briscoe. The ladder war is a ladder match with extra weapons around the ring, and several tables were set up, with Mark throwing one in the ring to get the action going. Briscoe was bloodied right before a commercial break when Jericho rammed a ladder in his face, and Brian Keith tried to interfere but was run off by Rocky Romero. Mark put Jericho through a table with a dive off a ladder, but Big Bill would appear moments later and chokeslam the champion through 2 tables at ringside. Bill put Jericho on his shoulders and carried him up the ladder so he could grab the title for a win, and after the match, Tomohiro Ishii showed up on the ramp but didn't attack. Pro wrestling has had some iconic ladder matches across all companies, so it's tough for any of them to stand out, especially when part of it is only visible during a picture-in-picture break. This was a decent ladder match, but the way it ended is going to leave a bad taste in some people's mouths. And what did you think of the match and the title change? Let us know below. Legal news now, as a new lawsuit has been filed against WWE, TKO, and Vince and Linda McMahon, stemming from the infamous Ring Boy scandal of the early 1990s. In the suit, it's claimed that WWE higher-ups at the time were well aware of the sexual abuse of underage boys hired to do tasks, but did nothing to prevent it from happening. In a statement shared to Brandon Thurston on Fightful Select, Jessica Rosenberg, Vince McMahon's attorney, denied the claims that her client was aware of any ill treatment. Rosenberg claimed that over 30 years ago, reporter Phil Mushnick tried to make headlines with these same false claims, which Rosenberg states were never proven. She adds that the negligence claims against Mr. McMahon are absurd, defamatory, and utterly meritless, and that she is confident that the court will find them untrue and unfounded. Janel Grant's attorney, Ann Callis, addressed the latest lawsuit with the following statement, also via Brandon Thurston, as she said, "The allegations in the Ring Boys lawsuit against WWE are deeply troubling. Vince McMahon made sexual abuse and human trafficking a hallmark of WWE's culture for decades. Survivors like Janel Grant and other former WWE employees deserve their day in court. All former WWE employees who experience sexual abuse and harassment should be allowed to tell the truth by having their non-disclosure agreements waived. Ms. Grant stands by all WWE survivors and believes that Mr. McMahon, WWE, and all involved parties must be held accountable." In the suit, it said that the 5 plaintiffs feel they can now go forward with litigation due to the change in WWE's regime and McMahon's exit from the company earlier this year. This is an ongoing situation and another deeply disturbing lawsuit, and we hope to provide updates on this situation as more information is made available. Back in January 2023, Stephanie McMahon announced her resignation from WWE shortly after her father strong-armed his way back onto the company's board of directors. With Vince now gone once more, though, Stephanie has made a handful of cameos in 2024, and fans can expect to see her as part of WrestleMania 41 next April. On Instagram, Stephanie shared her first post in 21 months to declare that she's ready for WrestleMania 41 and can't wait to be back in Vegas for the show on April 19th and 20th. As for what Stephanie will do at WrestleMania, that remains to be seen, but with this being the biggest event of the year, expect plenty of shocks and spectacles next April in Allegiant Stadium. During a segment on this week's Raw, Kairi, Sane, and Io Sky walked past Carlito, to which the cool superstar said that he needs to learn Chinese. This has sparked a debate as to whether the line was appropriate and if it played into a harmful stereotype that Asian people all look the same. Others have defended it, saying the line was just Carlito playing up his comedic character, and now we know what Io and Kairi made to the line in question. While speaking on Wrestling Observer Live, Brian Alvarez revealed that Io Sky and Kairi Sane did not have any problem with the line, as they saw him playing an idiot. Carlito's line has spawned a conversation, but the 2 women in question had no issue with the comment, and we'll have to see where both Damage Control and the Judgment Day go next. At Wrestle Dream, Kyle Fletcher betrayed Will Ospreay, costing his old friend the AEW International title, and this week, Fletcher had a lot to say on Dynamite. Alongside Don Callis, Fletcher made his way to the ring and cut a promo, explaining that he's been compared to Will throughout his entire career. Fletcher said that he was called the next Will Ospreay when he made his way to AEW, a shadow he's lived in for some time at this point, and he's obviously tired of the comparison. Fletcher declared that he will take Ospreay out with Tiger Driver after Tiger Driver, a move that Ospreay gave up doing, and this was a passionate promo, though a bit long for some fans. Fans chanted for Fletcher to wrap things up several times, but Fletcher proved his point at the very end as he used clippers provided by Callis to cut his hair. Fletcher kept repeating, "I am nothing like you," as he cut, with Callis encouraging him to cut it all off as a symbol of being separate from Will Ospreay. We will have to see where this feud leads us from this point on, but what we do know is that Kyle Fletcher will be doing it with a brand new look, as he is now sans hair. More from Dynamite as Hangman Adam Page was on the show and spoke about taking out Jay White and his friends in recent weeks, only to be interrupted by the Bang Bang Gang. The trio cleverly planned the ambush, but Page escaped after taking a little offense, and it's clear that this feud is far from over. MJF was also on the show and set up his plans for Full Gear as part of his ongoing feud with Adam Cole and those close to the former NXT champion. Earlier in the show, Cole and Roderick Strong spoke about wanting to get their hands on MJF, and Strong wished to have Friedman before handing him over to Cole. MJF later revealed that he has no plans on stepping foot in AEW until Full Gear, but challenged the pair to earn a chance to fight him at the pay-per-view. MJF said that whoever between the two can garner 3 singles match wins in a row will have the right to face him at Full Gear, which will take place on November 23rd in Newark, New Jersey. While Cole and Strong are friends, their competitive natures may get the better of them, as a match with MJF is the ultimate goal for both men come next month's pay-per-view. Who do you see earning the match with MJF? Will the friendship of Cole and Strong withstand this game the longest reigning AEW World Champion is playing? Sound off in the comments. We've got some unfortunate news from Hologram now, who has been one of the most regularly featured stars in AEW since his arrival earlier this year. Hologram currently boasts an impressive 15-0 undefeated record in AEW, with his most recent win being his 2 out of 3 falls win over the Beast Mortos at WrestleDream. Sadly, Lucha Blog is now reporting that the masked star suffered an injury during that match, and that the attack by La Facción Ingobernable on last week's Collision was done to write him off of TV. The report adds that Hologram could be out of action until after Full Gear, and we are wishing the undefeated masked star a full and speedy recovery. The first match on Dynamite saw MVP accompany Shelton Benjamin for the Gold Standards match with Sammy Guevara, and Shelton started off strong. By tossing Guevara into the air with a crotch lift suplex, Benjamin quickly established dominance, and while Guevara got in offense now and then, this match was mostly Shelton. This bout was designed to make Benjamin look like a dangerous competitor, and it succeeded in that regard thanks to the talent of both men in the ring. Guevara is a great high flyer and Benjamin is a talented all-round performer, so they put on a fun show for their first ever singles match, with Guevara playing the valiant underdog. The former TNT champion had a lot of support from the crowd, and it made Benjamin's win that much better, as after a few well-placed kicks to the face, Benjamin won with an exploder suplex. This was a big win for Benjamin, who is operating in AEW alongside MVP as part of the Hurt Syndicate, but right now fans are still awaiting the debut of Bobby Lashley. Speaking on the Gabby AF podcast, Benjamin reflected on his history with Lashley and was excited at the prospect of the Almighty becoming All Elite. He said, "If Bobby were to come, that's huge. That's a win for AEW. Aside from myself, you have one of the most phenomenal athletes you could ever get, a 2-time WWE World Champion. It only brings a bigger audience to AEW, so it's a plus." During the interview, Benjamin also highlighted the Hurt Business's impact in WWE's pandemic era, including the time they held the Raw Tag Team titles and the US Championship. While Lashley hasn't been officially signed with AEW yet, Benjamin confirmed that talks between Lashley and AEW have taken place, but plans for Lashley in the company are uncertain. He said, "Bobby has his own plans, and when or if they coincide with ours is yet to be determined. Him coming to AEW can only help everybody involved. It'll be a lot of fun." Lashley said during a recent virtual signing that he's had offers in wrestling, MMA, and boxing, but there's no shortage of people, including his former allies, hoping he finds a home in AEW. On Dynamite, a recap was shown from Maple Leaf Pro's recent event, where AEW International Champion Konosuke Takeshita retained his title against TNA's Josh Alexander. A post-match beatdown was cut short by Ricochet, who made clear he wants the title, and in a backstage interview last night, Ricochet called out Takeshita for a confrontation on Rampage. Ricochet's interview was then interrupted by MVP and Shelton Benjamin, and the manager alluded to the two stars' past history as Ricochet feuded with the Hurt Business in WWE. In a new company, though, MVP offered a clean slate and showed interest in Ricochet, even handing him a Hurt Syndicate business card as a tease that he could join. Ironically, Ricochet was once slated to be a part of the Hurt Business, as he told the Daily Mail last year, but those plans obviously didn't come to pass. Do you think Ricochet should join the Hurt Syndicate? What did you make of his and MVP's WWE past being referenced on Dynamite? Let us know in the comments. On this week's NXT, Zaria, formerly known as Delta, made her presence felt in the closing moments of the show with an impactful debut for the Australian star. Unfortunately, many fans missed the debut of Zaria due to unexpected broadcast issues, and it's not just these fans who were annoyed to have missed such a huge moment. Fightful Select reports that Zaria's debut was planned as a highlight of the night, a huge spot for her considering this was the go-home show before Halloween Havoc. Some markets cut the show off, though, before it could air, and this primarily stemmed from delays on the CW affiliate feeds, which resulted in the premature end of the broadcast. NXT officials were reportedly very upset with this issue, with one source noting that everyone who runs or has a say in the show was pissed, with certain markets missing Zaria's debut. It's added that NXT had been scheduled to run exactly until 10 p.m. Eastern, but as several affiliates, including in Orlando and beyond, operating on a 20-second delay, the show was cut short. Did you catch Zaria's NXT debut? If so, what did you make of her arrival in the closing moments of NXT? Please share your thoughts and feedback in the comments section below. As of late, the NXT women's roster has seen a bevy of established names join, including Stephanie Vaquer and Julia, who teamed on this week's show. Both women were long-established stars before NXT, and on a recent Busted Open Radio, Shawn Michaels was asked about the difficulties of working with established names. He said, "The most challenging thing right now is the communication aspect and making sure they're understanding what you're conveying, especially when you're talking about those subtleties." Michaels emphasized that words can sometimes carry different meanings in other languages, which adds complexity to helping them adjust their in-ring presentation. He added, "That's something that myself, personally, I'm trying to really do my best. Sometimes words mean different things in other languages. Making sure that I choose my words carefully with the two of them has been the biggest challenge from my standpoint." Despite this challenge, Michaels praised both for their understanding and patience, and how everyone involved can work on their communication going forward. "We're being patient, they're being unbelievably understanding, and they're doing their best to try and find better ways to communicate with us and ways to allow us to help them with things they feel they need to work with. A lot of that is asking them and getting their feedback and finding areas we can help them the most." Michaels' slow and steady approach seems to be paying off as both superstars gear up for NXT Halloween Havoc, where they will team up to face Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez. These are still early days for Vaquer and Julia, though the pair are off to a strong start, and with Shawn Michaels' attention to detail, expectations are high for both women in NXT. It was an injury suffered in December of last year that has forced Charlotte Flair to be absent from the ring in 2024, as the Queen has been focused on healing up. On Instagram this week, Flair shared a new clip from her rehab, which shows her leg being tested with various prongs and wires in place. There's no word on when Flair will be back, but as previously reported, WrestleVotes has noted that she will be in a top women's match at WrestleMania 41 in April 2025. This is a position that Flair is no stranger to, and fans can expect big things once again for the former women's champion once she's fully healed. The House of Black were in action on Dynamite against 3 local talents, and after Malachi Black wiped one out immediately with Black Mass, the faction won in about 2 minutes. Camille had her biggest test to date in AEW when she faced Queen Aminata, and was shocked when Aminata was able to kick out after a big clothesline. The pair battled into a commercial break, and while it seemed like Camille had the match in hand, the Queen made her comeback as we return. She hit a few big moves and came close to winning, but Camille eventually regained control and won with a reverse DDT. This match had a couple of sloppy moments that stood out, but it was decent for the most part, and Chris Statlander came out after and fought with the Brick House. Mercedes Moné got involved, and it was too much for Statlander to overcome, as Chris is focused on regaining the AEW TBS Championship. And that was this week's edition of AEW Dynamite, and what did you think of the show? Share your thoughts down in the comments, and as always, thanks for watching.